Well, as a member of the Board of Supervisors, in representing the neighborhoods that I represented, CPMC had 3 of their 5 campuses within District 2, the Cathedral Hill site, California, and Pacific. And so I had approached Supervisor Romiano at the time. They were in the process of closing down St. Luke's, and I had wanted to try and save it not only because of the impact it would have on San Francisco General, but also from a disaster relief perspective. We have to have healthcare on this side of town. We pulled together what became known as the Blue Ribbon Panel, myself along with Mitch Katz, who was then the head of our public health department, Marty Bruntman, who was the head of CPMC, and a man named Bishop Andrus from Grace Cathedral. And when we did it, we pulled together the Blue Ribbon, which were all of the experts in healthcare, and then we also had a community task force that was also assigned. They started the work before the Blue Ribbon, and they were the people who came to every Blue Ribbon panel meeting and told us where the community was and how the community felt. We ultimately ended up with a hospital and a $250 million commitment from CPMC to rebuild St. Luke's. We had many discussions about what would happen with St. Luke's, and we're still having those conversations. We still need at least 70 more SNF beds. We still need a NICU at St. Luke's Hospital. But what we know is that by having St. Luke's where it is, we relieve huge pressure off of San Francisco General. Without it, San Francisco General would be working at 150% capacity, and so the need for St. Luke's is a very real one.
Mr. Alvarez has the last question.
This is a question for Joanna Reese, and related to livable communities. In the southern part of San Francisco, District 10 and District 11, we have a huge problem with blight, and we have a huge problem with illegal dumping as well. And the city has not had an adequate response in these districts to really deal with the blight issue of properties that are not cared for, that become havens for bad things happening. Also, we have illegal dumping, and it's very different from District 10, District 11. Can you talk about what kind of ways that you would help to resolve this issue?
Yeah, so there's a lot of disparity in our communities by neighborhood, and I spent a lot of time walking merchant corridors in District 10 and District 11 and going door to door in District 10 and District 11, and it becomes incredibly prevalent. So I guess I would say, first of all, it just starts with that's absolutely unacceptable, that we can't have these disparities in the community. And this is back to what I said earlier, that it's often the person with the loudest voice or money and influence who gets attention, and we forget about this silent majority of people who are living in situations where there's an empty lot next to them. I know when I was going door to door in the Bayview, there was a known crack house that the neighbors told me they've been calling the police on and nothing's being done. And we need to absolutely, it's just back to, again, a zero tolerance policy. The one thing that, when I first moved here, what motivated me about San Francisco was the unique character of our different neighborhoods, and I feel like this is also something that we're losing. We're losing it in specifically even just in merchant corridors down in Crocker Amazon and in the Excelsior, where again merchants are really subject to so many additional licenses and permits, to the point where I talk to merchants who tell me I no longer have any employees anymore. It's just us running the business because we can't afford to. And I think we need to make sure that we're really focused on these communities and also really tapping into our entrepreneurial community here and creating local economic empowerment. Bevan was talking about just even plans in the Bayview. There's a lot of opportunity to create local entrepreneurs and have them be the ones who thrive, tapping into the entrepreneurial talent we have in the community.
And that finishes round 4 of questions. Thank you, candidates, for all the give and take. A couple of housekeeping notes before we go into closing statements. In addition to the legendary Linda Post in the first row, we also have a great volunteer, Chris Reese, in the back, videotaping this debate, which will then put up on the Boosters and Democratic Club websites. Thank you for that work. And then a little bit of housekeeping. There were some folks who have some extra